To
Yeah.
speak about something a bit more serious, one of the titles that you've kind of had bestowed upon you, you've been in that conversation for a while now, but I feel like this year was really the real year where everyone was kind of just saying it and giving it to you. Best Western player, or at least best Western jungler. Lots of people saying best Western player flat right. Is that something that you felt personally? How are you tied personally to that kind of title? Do you care about it? Do you like the title? Do you feel like it's deserved? Give me some of your opinions and feelings on it.
I mean, honestly, I don't really care because I think people that give these opinions switch them really fast. Like you can have one good tournament on one good season or one bad season, and they will switch the whole narrative. When reality is, even when a player maybe looks bad or good, it's not always because he did something great or he did something bad, and that caused his performance look like that. I feel like for me, I was always very confident in my own abilities ever since I started. I think before I joined LEC, I was a bit nervous and I thought that maybe I will not be able to keep up with the players. But after my first split, after I realized that players in the league are actually way worse than I expected them to be, yeah, I gained a lot of confidence. And ever since then, I felt very confident. Doesn't matter who I was going against. Yeah, I think only games against Caps when I was back in Europe felt like the game just started in disadvantage. I felt like he was just a player that yeah, was very hard to beat. And I think against any other team in my career in Europe or NA, it just felt like yeah, I felt very confident. I felt like I'm a better player than an enemy jungler.
And is that something that you've kind of in terms of do you feel like there was where would you talk about these kind of substantive leaps in skill? Because you've obviously the way that you put it is that you've always thought you were kind of one of the best. Was there a time where you felt like you got a lot better, or is it just kind of been consistent, kind of a slow slope, or was there a big jump in skill at one point?
I mean, I don't know if there was a like huge jump. I always look for stuff I can improve on. Like every game, I look through and I see what caused me to maybe lose some time in the game and what I could have done better to either help my team or get myself stronger in the game and have higher impact on the game. And I think the biggest jump, I guess, would be the first time I went to Worlds. I think playing the first international games obviously um, gives you the most like experience and the most knowledge because yeah, the first time I got to play against Asian players, I kind of realized that there's actually a complete different way to play the game that they do that no one really in Europe did before, and they actually play with a way bigger picture and way bigger plan. And ever since then, I realized that I think I started adapting my play around it. So yeah, I guess if I would have to like choose one moment, would be probably the first international. Yeah, and ever since then, you just try to perfect your game.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because one of my favorite things that LS describes it as, which we'll get onto your relationship with him probably after this question, is he one of the ways he describes it is certain players are able to kind of zoom out on the map. Some players play very zoomed in, but the more cerebral players are able to play a little more zoomed out. And I kind of feel like that's kind of what you're hinting at there when you talk about with the Asian players, they kind of played in a way that is like a different way of looking at the game. For the layman, for the regular person that maybe doesn't understand the game to the same extent to you, talk to me about what your mindset on the game was in more simple terms when you were in Europe, and how did your mind become expanded under the kind of psychedelic experience that is, experiencing Asian scrims and stuff like this.
I mean, it just felt like they were playing more as a team. Like starting from the draft, I feel like players on Asian teams, they just like if the top laner is playing some champs that are supposed to not be played around because the draft win condition is in bot side, they will play accordingly to that and not try to squeeze out the leads and not risk much. Like same for bot side when we were playing against Asian teams that were playing Ezreal Bard and were playing a lane to hold. Like it felt pretty hard to get lead against. Meanwhile, they were playing for top side. I guess that's an example of when we were playing as Sunning at First World, when Bean was their top laner and they had to Fang with Sword Art. They were really good at playing around top side and just felt like the whole team knew their identity and it was not like people trying to squeeze out too much out of the game. It seemed like everyone knew who is supposed to carry the game on their team, and and they just all played towards that. And yeah, it just feels pretty similar playing against all of these teams right now. I think they all have a big picture in mind and a goal as a team, and they just follow that.
I suppose there can be an element of frustration there because it's an interesting thing, isn't it? When you see that they're doing that and you get the concept, it must be this eureka moment, like you described, of like, oh wow, that is so obvious. That of course that's how you must play. Talk to me about the annoyance then in trying to convince teammates, or not convince necessarily, but it's that thing. There you can see the 3D object, but they're still 2D. They're trying to see the 3D object, and the frustration must be in attempting to make them understand. How is that for you, and how has that been over your last couple of years?
I mean, I think players tend to just focus a lot on themselves. They don't really wanna drop stuff that might look bad in a short term of the game, but it's actually beneficial for the whole team long term. And yeah, it just I think losing stuff on the map and losing pressure is just part of the game. Like sometimes you have to accept the fact that you can't all the time pressure and you need to let your teammates kind of do the job somewhere else. Um, and that's kind of hard, I guess, to get in the mind of people because everyone wants to win and everyone thinks that they need to be the one driving the game. And yeah, and I guess it's a bit hard to get into minds of people sometimes that you doing your job should be enough. You shouldn't feel the need to do more in order to win. Because if everyone does their job, then you will just win. And if one person that is even doing good will try to do too much, it might cause more negative things in the game and in the team than actually beneficial one. And his intention was to win the game, right? He was trying to do his best, but he just feels like he wants to do too much. And it happened to so many players in my career, and it even happened to me as well. You need to realize at some point that you are trying to do too much, and you just need to kind of chill out and yeah, just do your job. And I think that's like the biggest difference between Asian players and UNA players because yeah, I think they are just fine with doing their job and they are really good at doing their job. Really good mechanically, really good in laning, very patient. I think patience is the biggest difference between Asian players and Western players. I think they have so much patience in them, while Eastern players, when they EUNA players, when they get a lead, they really try to get a lot of it from it, and sometimes they just do too much. Yeah.
It's a really interesting way that you frame that, and immediately, this is not anything to do with my prep, but the way that you frame that kind of recontextualizes a lot of conversations that have been had because there's this obsession. I mean, you saw it. It's always been a thing for as long as I've known, for as long as I've been involved in league and watched league. You see people comment on it. I think one of the ways it came out really this year is you saw Cadrell started doing a lot of interviews post game on his stream. I think he did he did the run where I think he spoke to Chovy, he spoke to Tarbe, he spoke to Faker, and the big thing was it was the meme was like, oh, Tarbe says Europe needs to do this, and Faker says they need to do this. It was like, oh, you need better players, you need better coaches, you need to work more. There is this kind of obsession, and there always has been in the West, and I'm sure you're a victim of it in some ways because you're part of that newer wave in 2018, 2019 of, oh, if we just work as hard as them, the Asian teams, we're going to catch up. But what you're talking about there is almost the over exuberance of doing too much. It's not about how much hours you put in, it's about like we're fundamentally misunderstanding something. So the time is being wasted to some capacity. Would it be fair that's what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely. I think there is a lot of time being wasted in UNA, and I think working as hard as them is obviously needed if you want to beat them, but you need to make your work actually useful. And I feel like yeah, a lot of
It's
teams are just not doing the stuff that they should be doing in order to improve.
to use the analogy, it's almost like, well, it's all very well we're driving the same speed as them, but we're going in the other direction. So it's like we're not going on the same path.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear you talk about it like that because yeah, it's this kind of it's this very westernized thing of let's look like we're working hard rather than what you're talking about is at a foundational level when we talk about identity and things like this. Day one foundational building blocks of teams. You think that a lot of Western teams, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like what you're saying is a lot of Western teams or Western players are fundamentally failing the 101 and then the work after that, like fair play if you're working hard, but if you don't get those basics right, it can be very difficult to go anywhere efficient.
Yeah, I guess so. And yeah, I think you just need to, I guess, I don't know. As I said, I think you need to not do too much, and you need to have a good person behind every team that is gonna make sure that everyone does certain job in the game, and all of the, I guess, all of the things are covered. Like, yeah, everyone needs to have certain job to do, and they shouldn't be feeling like they need to do extra in order to win. And yeah, I guess.